Does the White House believe that the president has the power to pardon himself?
I don't know. I don't think we haven't even really looked into that. I don't know. I've talked to Jay Sekulow about that because he's a scholar, and you know, I took constitutional law from Larry Tribe, and if Professor Tribe's listening, I know he doesn't like the president, but I did get an A-.
That's quite a credential. Can the president pardon himself? It's one of the hottest questions in legal circles right now. President Trump arguing that he has complete power to do so, while constitutional law professor Lawrence Tribe and others argue that his power would fall short. Rejoining us is another former student of Professor Tribe's, Jeremy Bash. Got 6 degrees of separation, you and the mooch. Both students. What did you get in his class? Did you get his...
Who the hell knows, Nicole, and is precisely irrelevant?
And you certainly wouldn't say it on TV. All right, let me ask you the definitive answer. Can he or can't he pardon himself?
I think he may be able to pardon himself, but I want to hasten to add, I think that is auto-impeachment. I mean, under the Constitution, it says that the president has the power to grant reprieves and pardons except in the cases of impeachment, which basically means that if Congress wants to, if the House wants to impeach a president and the Senate votes to convict, a pardon will not save you. I think a president who pardons himself basically is saying, I have committed a crime, and that is the justification for impeachment and conviction and removal from office.
So is this the Republicans' worst nightmare or the Democrats' worst nightmare, that the president just go ahead and pardon himself if he thinks that he... I mean, is it a preemptive move, or do you think this is all much to do?
You know, first of all, obviously, we don't know exactly what he's going to do, and even if he can't pardon himself, he can pardon others. But I do believe that from what I understand, even though it's muddled, that he does have the right to pardon himself. I do believe it would lead to an impeachment, and I do think that puts the Republicans in a position. There's almost no chance of impeachment before the midterm elections, you know, presuming that the Democrats might regain some power. But if he does pardon himself before the midterms, I do think that throws that question into play.
Dave, what would Republicans do if they? And I expect he would announce it on Twitter. I mean, can you imagine what Paul Ryan and
it would be, if you think you've seen chaos, you haven't. That would be chaos. And they really would have to go into it, I think, going into the Judiciary Committee and having real hearings, serious hearings about what was done where, and all this would obviously be done in public. I'm old enough to remember what was done in Watergate. I watched it. I was old enough to realize what was going on. And those were a real set of hearings that developed real material.
And a really somber time for our country.
That's
I mean,
right, absolutely.
What is he doing even talking about this?
I don't know that, again, I'm not a lawyer, although I do know Larry Tribe. At least I've met him like at a coffee shop once or twice.
Did you get an A-?
So I do not know whether it's possible to pardon someone who's not been convicted or at least accused or indicted in a... So I think preemptive pardoning is even possible. And Trump's...
I made that up. I'm not a lawyer.
That I know. And Trump's posture, though, is I've done nothing wrong, right? So he's certainly not going to take this up in any instance unless he were actually under threat of indictment or had been convicted of something. I just think the reality is that, to Jeremy's point, the practical political reality is a president moving to pardon himself would be tantamount to admitting that he was guilty of a crime, and that would be in the context of such a giant political meltdown that we would not ever get to that, I don't think. The reality is...
Do you think somebody would stop it? Ivanka would break her...
Other events would intercede, including probably in impeachment hearings. If not an actual impeachment, you would be in a state of full-scale constitutional crisis at that point, so I'm not sure we're ever going to really get to test this theory.
I have no confidence in the Republican Party that they will ever hold this president accountable for anything under any circumstances. It doesn't matter how embarrassing it is.
On behalf of the Republican Party?
Because people are going to still vote for this president. They're still going to vote for the Republicans. So it doesn't matter if he does something terrible or it's against the norms or it's a complete violation of the Constitution used as a toilet paper.
It's what they like.
It's what they like. They like that kind of aggressiveness. What I think is interesting, and John mentioned this is actually something I've been asking some lawyers, Mueller knows this too. These guys are smarter than him. They're smarter than Trump and his lawyers. That's why they haven't officially put anyone under investigation, because you can't preemptively pardon yourself. So they're not going to hand out any of these indictments probably until sometime November of 2020. That's what I suspect.
All right,
October.
Jeremy Bash, thank you for playing our law professor. Still ahead, it's not